The 1966 state tournament team. And I think we should include the 1965 team as well. The only difference was because they went to the finals of the region, well, they had to play Breckenridge County with Butch Beard, where they barely lost. And Breckenridge County went to the state tournament and just walked through it. And no competition. And I think the 65 team could have done the same thing. One thing that made these teams so good, and also all the teams in the past that built up to these teams, was because of the Golden Tide tradition. This tradition was started by Coach George Taylor and Coach Gish, moved on to Coach Day, and all the fabulous teams that they had in the past. I know Corky Withrow was the hero of mine. And so tradition did a lot for the community and the school. I think one thing gave us this gym because of the good teams we'd had in the past. They thought they needed a big gym to hold all the fans that would be supporting this team. You know, when this gym was built, it could have been the largest and best high school gym in the state of Kentucky to play in. I know other teams would enjoy coming here because the excitement that was in the gym that night. But they also didn't want to come here because when they left, they probably left in defeat. The coaches didn't like playing in this gym because they had a slim chance they'd win. So they voted to have the district tournament at Muhlenberg Central. Well, our fans had to go get in line at noon. You'd get in the gym, and then once they was in the gym, they had to, they pushed down the floor so bad you couldn't even see the out-of-bounds lines. And, you know, we had such a following, and when we played in smaller gyms, a lot of times the fire marshal would close the doors and left a lot of people standing outside. The story's told that one fan took a ladder, and he got up to the window where he could watch the scoreboard and tell the other fans outside what was going on inside the gym. You know, this team was made up of 12 players, coaches and managers, cheerleaders, a pep band, but everyone was a part of this team. Every student in this school felt they were part of this team. They felt that they didn't wear the black and gold, didn't yell as loud as they could have, even paint their cars to go to a lot of away games. They felt they didn't do these things, that we could lose. That's how much they were into it. I know the pep rallies really fired you up because the students were into the pep rallies so much. One pep rally, Mr. Gish didn't think they were yelling quite as much as they went to, so he stopped the pep rally. He walked on the floor, about 4 foot tall, and he just stared at the fans for a few minutes. And then you could hear a pin drop. And then he stuck his hand up and he said, "I've got more guts in my little finger than anybody in this gym for the way you're yelling." And he walked out the gym in disgust. So believe me, the pep rally picked up quite a bit. But it wasn't only the students, the whole town was into the team. They felt like they were part of it. I know if you went downtown on game day, the whole conversation was the game that night. Everyone was looking forward to that game. And the next day after the game, downtown, they relived the game several times over and over and over, especially at the barber shops, places like this. I know when you put on the black and gold uniform, you were expected to win. Matter of fact, you knew you were going to win when you were on that floor. I don't remember ever playing a game I didn't think we were going to win. But every once in a while you'd lose, and you'd wonder what happened. And you would cry. Along with your fans would cry. It was that bad. I know sometimes if I had a bad game, when I came to the dressing room, I'd want to look up to somebody like Martha Henry because she would lie to you and tell you that you still had a good game when you know you didn't. But one person you didn't want to run into is like Sharon Caspear, because she'd be honest with you and she'd tell you how lousy you played that night. But that's the way it was. I think the 65 record, their team record, season record was like 30-3, I think. And the 66 record, it was 33-3. You know, a lot of teams in the state, if they could win 20 games, that was a very successful year for them. And here, the Tide was winning 30 games. And that's the reason for all the year after year after year having such good teams. That's what made Central City, when they closed their door, the winningest team in the nation. Think about that. Also, the goal was to go to the state tournament each year. I know when the 66 team went, the Tide had been there 16 times. Another team in the state had been there 16 times. We led the state in trips to the state tournament. It was all part of this winning program. Now, if you were part of this winning program, and you just felt like when the program was over, you were set for life. You knew you had a solid foundation to work off of because you've been involved in all the programs. You knew if you worked hard, you could compete in anything with anybody, anywhere. And you had fun. You enjoyed your victories. And you had a few defeats, and when you did, you would learn from your defeats. But you got the basic knowledge of what it's like in life. And even hanging around, a lot of people still say you got a little common sense. There's not much common sense in the world today. But it was fun. I know when we get together with teammates and schoolmates, we relive our good times at Central City, and especially in sports, reliving the ball games and so forth. This was the most important time of a lot of people's lives. I know David James, for 50 years after we played, he would call me and he would say, Rodney, you remember the third quarter when we was playing in Louisville that Venable stole the ball for a few seconds ago and we were 1 point down and goes up? I said, David, no, I don't remember this. But David does. And so many of our other players and fans do remember. It was just a wonderful place to play and a wonderful place to be. And I'm so glad I was part of it.